Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 2 based on novel. So let's start. While the chaos in the sky above Unique Devil City gradually began to calm down, in a certain place far away from the eastern Xian region was a 10,000 feet tall mountain peak that was covered in mists. A green-clothed man was seated atop this mountain peak and his shut eyes slowly opened at this moment. A green dragon light pattern flashed across his pupils when they opened. There seemed to be a faint ancient dragon roar being emitted, causing the area to tremble intensely. The man's face was quite handsome. If Lin Dong was present, he would be stunned to discover that this man's appearance was that of the Green Dragon King Qingxi, whom he had met in the ancient battlefield. Haha, what an interesting little fellow. The man smiled a little. His pupils that contained a green dragon light pattern were filled with ancientness and wisdom. His gaze looked forward and seemed to penetrate space as he mumbled. For you, Green Dragon King Qingxi, to spend so much effort to rip apart space and intervene, it seems like that little fellow is not simple at all. The space behind Qingxi suddenly rippled slightly. After which, a human figure appeared. The one who had arrived had a head covered with white hair and was exceptionally ancient. However, his eyes were deep and unusual. The hands that reached out from his sleeves appeared to have been constructed from crystal jade, and gave off a faint reincarnation ripple, an extremely bizarre sight. How can he be ordinary if he possesses the devouring ancestral symbol? That little fellow's potential is excellent. If he is given more training and tempering, perhaps his strength will grow to an extremely terrifying stage. Oh! The devouring ancestral symbol has also appeared? A ripple emerged deep within that white-haired old man's eyes as he asked in surprise. Yes. Qingxi smiled and nodded as he continued, based on the direction of their teleportation, they should be attempting to reach the demon region. However, Tian Yuanzi managed to damage their formation in the end. It is likely that he will be sent into the Chaotic Demon Sea. Chaotic Demon Sea, huh? The white-haired old man mused for a moment before laughing. I recall that fellow Mo Luo is in the Chaotic Demon Sea, right? TSK, I am really curious to find out just what will happen when the devouring ancestral symbol meets the blazing ancestral symbol. Qingxi grinned. Soon after, he stood up and surveyed the horizon. His sight seemed to have reached the end of the sky, as a dusky color suddenly flashed in the depths of his eyes. Some time ago, I was attacked just after awaking from reincarnation. The eyes of the white-haired old man instantly became focused when he heard this. He slowly clenched his crystal jade-like hand, his voice was a little lower as he spoke. It's the Yimos, right? Yes, haha, there were at least 3 general-rank Yimos. They really think highly of me, Qingxi laughed faintly. During the Great World War back then, Great Symbol Ancestor ignited his reincarnation to seal the spatial crack. However, there are still some Yimos hiding in this realm. Some of them are extremely troublesome to deal with, and there are even king-rank Yimos amongst them, the white-haired old man said. Although there have been little news of Yimos appearing over the past 100,000 years, it does not mean that they have been completely wiped out. Based on the information I have obtained, these remaining Yimos seem to be gradually gathering in secret. I even suspect that they have managed to penetrate the spatial crack and communicate with the Yimo tribe beyond the crack. Perhaps, they are planning on tearing open another spatial crack. Qingxi deeply exhaled. His eyes were dark and gloomy as he muttered, what a bunch of troublesome beings. If another spatial crack is opened, there will no longer be someone like Great Symbol Ancestor in this realm to bear this great burden. Yeah, although we have also experienced reincarnation, we are still unable to reach the level of Great Symbol Ancestor. Amongst the disciples of Great Symbol Ancestor back then, the one with the greatest hope of reaching that level is Ice Master. Unfortunately, we have yet to sense the reincarnation ripple from Ice Master even till today. I wonder if she has died within reincarnation. The white-haired old man sighed softly. Qingxi nodded slightly. Both of his hands were placed behind him. His eyes looked into the distance as he softly said, signs of chaos have begun to appear. I wonder if we will be able to survive the great calamity this time around. The white-haired old man nodded quietly without uttering anything. The feeling of teleportation through space was truly goddamn horrible. This was the only thought that Lin Dong had after his consciousness fell into darkness for the umpteenth time. His addled mind did not allow him to be completely conscious. At the same time, it also resulted in him being unable to control his body. The current him was not even certain whether he was alive or dead. This state lasted for an unknown period of time. However, while his consciousness was gradually bobbing up and down in the darkness, Lin Dong could vaguely sense some human voices around him. Soon after, he completely lost consciousness. For some time, Lin Dong was in a completely unconscious and blurry state. However, with the flow of time, he discovered that his control over his body was recovering bit by bit. This caused him to sigh in relief within his heart. From the looks of the situation, he should still be alive. By relying on his fuzzy awareness, Lin Dong could sometimes feel that he seemed to be being taken care of by someone. Moreover, this person was a lady. It seemed that a great amount of time passed while his consciousness continued to bob within the darkness. Finally, a thread of light tore through this darkness and seeped in, shining onto Lin Dong's unconscious mind. Heavy eyelids were opened after a great struggle. Finally, a small crack was opened, and his blurry sight gradually began to become clear. The place that entered his vision seemed to be a relatively crude canopy built over a cart. Lin Dong stared at this canopy while his mind began to awaken, and memories surged out like floodwaters. Unique Devil City, the Great Battle, spatial teleportation. Yuan Gate. A turbid breath of air was slowly spat out from Lin Dong's throat. Soon after, he clenched and opened his fist. He was somewhat horrified to discover that his body was extremely weak. While he was startled in his heart, Lin Dong swiftly looked into his body, only to discover that everything was a complete mess inside. Even his median showed signs of being distorted or broken. Such injuries could be described as terrible. Lin Dong's mind sunk deep into his dantian. There, the illusory Yuan spirit was seated on the dragon Yuan ring. However, the golden light that lingered around it was at its dimmest, appearing as though it was about to disappear. Such serious injuries. Lin Dong's heart sunk slightly. He clearly did not expect that his injuries this time around would actually be this serious. If it was someone else, it was likely that the person would be crippled for life. It seems like I must recuperate properly, Lin Dong quietly said. His physical body had a strength that an ordinary person could not compare with. Moreover, back when he was at Unique Devil City, the heavenly dragon aura in his body had merged into his body because of the external pressure. This had caused his physical body to be strengthened once again. Hence, his injuries this time around might be serious, but it was not impossible for him to recover if he was given some time. I wonder where I am. Lin Dong's mind gradually withdrew from his body, as he knitted his brow slightly. The current him was clearly extremely frail. It was likely that anyone would be able to kill him. Such a condition had clearly caused the usually cautious Lin Dong to be quite displeased. Although the injuries are serious, I should barely be able to activate my Yuan spirit to control the demon corpse after resting for a period of time. That should be some protection, Lin Dong sighed in relief only when he thought until this point. No matter what the situation was, he couldn't simply do nothing. I wonder how little Martin and little Flame are. From the looks of it, it seems like we have been separated. Lin Dong clenched his teeth. An unusually ruthless expression suddenly surged into his eyes. If anything happens to Little Flame or Little Martin, I will definitely massacre the Yuan Gate in future. Creak. While this thought was flickering in Lin Dong's mind, the tightly shut door to the carriage was suddenly gently pushed open. Immediately, his eyes focused as they shot towards the door that was being pushed open from the outside. The door to the carriage was pushed open. After which, a slim figure appeared in Lin Dong's sight. It was a young lady in a pale blue dress. The young lady's appearance was not comparable to Qingtan or Ying Huan, but she was still quite pretty. However, there was ultimately a timid expression in the young lady's eyes. After entering the carriage, the young lady quickly saw the now awake Lin Dong, and panicked a little under his attention. Her small hand twisted into her body as she asked in a soft and timid manner, "You've awoken." A smile surfaced on Lin Dong's face when he saw the appearance of this young lady. He subsequently nodded. From the looks of it, he did not appear to have landed in some dangerous situation that would give him a headache. He merely did not know, where exactly was this place. I found you 5 days ago. At that time, you were completely covered in blood and you were unconscious. However, I saw that you were still breathing and ended up bringing you back. In the carriage, the pretty young lady looked at Lin Dong and softly introduced herself. I am called Guya. Lin Dong. Miss Gu, thank you for rescuing me. Lin Dong revealed a friendly smile. He hesitated a moment before asking, may I know if Miss discovered any other injured people in the vicinity when you rescued me? He was naturally inquiring about Little Martin and Little Flame. Guya thought for a moment after hearing this. She subsequently shook her head. A disappointed expression flashed across Lin Dong's eyes when he saw this. It seemed like he had indeed been separated from Little Martin and Little Flame. Your injuries are very serious. I have invited elder sister Guya to help to take a look, she said. Guya's voice paused for a moment. After which, she looked at Lin Dong with some sympathy and continued, she said that you will no longer be able to cultivate in future. Lin Dong was slightly startled, but he did not reply. He clearly understood that the injuries within his body was indeed terrifying. If it was an ordinary individual, his cultivation would have been destroyed. However, Lin Dong was no ordinary individual. Miss Guya, where exactly is this place? Lin Dong inquired. This is the mysterious Spirit Island, Guya replied. Mysterious Spirit Island? Lin Dong knitted his brow slightly. Soon after, he probed deeper. This place is not part of the Eastern Xian region. Eastern Xian region? This name caused Guya to frown and think for a long while. Only then did she come to a sudden understanding and replied, you must be talking about the Eastern Xian region of the 4 great Xian regions, right? This place is the Heaven Wind Sea region in the chaotic Demon Sea. It is very far from the Eastern Xian region. Even a profound life stage expert would need half a year in order to fly here. Moreover, that is on the precondition of not meeting any obstructions. Chaotic Demon Sea. Heaven Wind Sea region. This foreign name caused Lin Dong to be a little dazed. Although he knew that the distance covered by the spatial teleportation was extremely far, Lin Dong still felt a little lost despite his character when he discovered that he was already so far from the Eastern Xian region. However, this state of mind did not last for long, before Lin Dong shook his head and tossed it aside. Since their relationship with Yuan Gate had already developed to such a state, there was nowhere in the Eastern Xian region for them to live. It might be quite a great opportunity now that he was able to come to this chaotic Demon Sea. He had heard Little Martin mention the chaotic Demon Sea before. This place was even larger than the 4 great Xian regions. Clearly, the hands of Yuan Gate would not be able to reach this place, allowing him sufficient time to grow. Chaotic Demon Sea. Lin Dong muttered this name several times in his heart, as he felt a faint peculiar sensation. After thinking for a long while, a glint finally shot out from his eyes. He suddenly recalled the mental energy map he had obtained from Yang City's Symbol Master Tower. It had the locations of 2 ancestral symbols. One of them was the devouring ancestral symbol which he had obtained. Lin Dong had not thought about the other ancestral symbol because it was too far from the Eastern Xian region. However, when the words Chaotic Demon Sea had entered his ears, it suddenly dug out a memory from deep within his mind. Back then, Little Martin had once mentioned that the second ancestral symbol on the mental energy map was in the Chaotic Demon Sea. The second ancestral symbol. Even with Lin Dong's calmness, his face involuntarily revealed a wild joy when he thought of this. The great power of an ancestral symbol was something that he had experienced firsthand. If he was able to obtain another ancestral symbol, his strength would definitely soar. Moreover, he would also be able to complete the task that the Great Desolate Tablet had given him. It seems like the Chaotic Demon Sea was the right place to go to. Big brother Lin Dong, are you alright? Guya was startled when looked at Lin Dong, whose face had suddenly filled with joy, and inquired in a soft voice. Ha ha, I'm fine. Lin Dong grinned. The joy on his face slowly withdrew. After some hesitation, he asked, Miss Guya, do you have a map of the chaotic demon sea with you? His mind had a record of the location of the second ancestral symbol. All he needed to do was to compare it with a chaotic demon sea map and he would be able to tell just where exactly the ancestral symbol was. You must be talking about a sea map, right? Guya blinked a few times. Soon after, a face reddened as she continued in an embarrassed manner. The chaotic demon sea is extremely vast, and is separated into many large and small sea regions. This Heaven Wind Sea region is one of the better known areas. A complete sea map is extremely precious, and I do not have one. All I have is a sea map of this Heaven Sky Wind Sea region. Guya took out an ancient-looking scroll and offered it to Lin Dong. Many thanks. Lin Dong received the sea map and thanked Guya. After which, he made use of what mental energy he currently could to scan the map into his mind as he shut his eyes. A moment later, there was some disappointment in his eyes when they reopened. Clearly, the location of the second ancestral symbol was not this Heaven Wind Sea region. However, Lin Dong was not overly depressed because of this. He was already very lucky to have survived the teleportation this time around. How could he still be lucky enough to directly land at the spot where the second ancestral symbol was located? In any case, there was still time in future and he could slowly search for it. The most important thing now was to recover from his injuries. Only after his strength had returned, would he be able to roam this chaotic demon sea and look for the second ancestral symbol. Screech! The sound of wheels braking was emitted from the outside while this thought was flashing through Lin Dong's mind. After which, some voices were heard. It seems that we are about to set up camp and rest. Big brother Lin Dong, do you wish to come out and take a look? Guya looked at Lin Dong and inquired. Sure, might as well. Lin Dong smiled and nodded. After a brief rest, he now had some strength to move his body. He also wanted to find out what the rumored chaotic demon sea was like. Guya smiled when she saw this. The young lady was quite kind. She immediately came forward to support Lin Dong, before pushing open the carriage door. A group of busy people entered Lin Dong's sight after the carriage door was pushed open. They were setting up tents on the flat land. Around this flat land was a lush green forest. Lin Dong surveyed the area from his elevated position but did not see the sea. It was likely that this island was relatively large. However, Lin Dong was still able to sniff the salty scent that only the sea had. The busy group of people around the carriage would also occasionally throw their gazes towards Lin Dong. However, most of them contained some pity. It was likely that they had heard that Lin Dong was seriously injured and could no longer cultivate. However, Lin Dong's emotions were not the least bit affected by these gazes. His eyes swept around, and soon after, surprise flashed in them. Most of the people in this camp were young people. Although there was a faint pride on some of their faces, their auras were all quite strong. They were comparable to the great direct disciples of the Tao sect's four halls. These people seemed to belong to the same faction. Looks like this faction is relatively powerful. Lin Dong was quietly speechless in his heart. As expected of the chaotic demon sea, this random faction that he had encountered actually possessed such power. Guya, it is fine that you usually pick up those little cats and dogs. Yet, you have actually picked up a person this time around. Do you really think that our GU clan is a place to rear pets? A somewhat ear-piercing shout suddenly sounded from the bonfire to their front while Lin Dong was observing the campsite. He knitted his brow slightly and looked towards the source of the voice. He saw a red-cloaked lady frowning a little in front of them as she looked at Guya. The lady was quite beautiful. She was tall and had an exceptionally sexy figure. Her curves sunk and protruded in the right places, causing her to appear quite voluptuous. There were some young men clustered beside her, like stars guarding the moon. This group of young people were rather powerful, and the red-cloaked lady was at the HUR Nirvana stage. Clearly, she was quite talented. Guya looked at the red-cloaked lady, as her small face reddened a little, as if she was a little angry. However, she did not dare to say anything. She bit her lips and softly said, "Elder sister Ji Yu Ying, he has suffered such serious injuries, if I did not rescue him. Isn't he merely trash even if you rescue him? It would be better to die than to be unable to cultivate. He might even blame you for being a busybody in spite of your kindness. Moreover, we are not going sightseeing this time around. Will you shoulder the blame if he ends up holding us back?" The red-clothed lady mocked. Guy's small face was provoked by these harsh words until it turned completely red. However, she clearly appeared to be used to this. All she could do was to twist her small hands together and meet those words with silence. "Ji Yu Ying, would it kill you to speak less?" While Guy was silent, the entrance to the camp in the middle of the camp was pulled open. After which, a lady in a pale white dress walked out and spoke in an indifferent voice. The white-clothed lady had an appearance that surpassed the red-clothed lady. Her pointed oval face was not smiling much, giving her a somewhat cold appearance. Moreover, she seemed to have a relatively high position in this place. That red-clothed lady could only remain silent after she spoke. She glanced at Guy and Lin Dong with some dislike and disdain, before returning to her tent. "She is elder sister Ji Yu Yang, who helped to take a look at your injuries. She is very outstanding amongst our Gu clan's younger generation," Guy softly said to Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He could sense that this lady was quite powerful. In fact, she was at the half-step to profound life stage. This was indeed powerful. No wonder she possessed such standing. The white-clothed lady walked towards Guy after chiding the red-clothed lady. She patted Guy's head to comfort her. After which, her eyes turned towards Lin Dong. Her eyes did not contain any disdain, nor did they possess any friendliness. At the very most, there was only a little sympathy because of Lin Dong's injuries. Guy is kind and likes to help others. However, we have an important task to carry out this time in the mysterious Spirit Island. Moreover, this place is not peaceful. You must obey my orders at all times if you want to follow us. I do not wish to end up with any losses because of you." The white-clothed woman's voice finally became a little gentler when she spoke. "Until this point, once we are done here, if you have nowhere to go, I can arrange a job for you in our Gu clan. It can at least be a way for you to make a living." She turned around and left without waiting for Lin Dong's response after uttering those words. This situation caused Lin Dong to be stunned for a moment. Only then did he helplessly shrug his shoulders. He was truly treated like a useless trash. Fortunately, with the exception of Guy, he did not feel much for the rest of them. After he recovered from his injuries, he would look for an opportunity to leave. The bright moon hung high in the sky, appearing like a bright round mirror. Ice-cold moonlight scattered down from it, covering the entire mysterious Spirit Island. Faintly, low demonic beast roars rose and fell deep within the island. Lin Dong sat within the carriage. His treatment was clearly not very good when compared to the soft tents of the others. However, he did not have the mood to bicker about such things. After all, he was likely a jumbo-sized burden in the eyes of the rest. Lin Dong sat down and formed training seals with his hands. A weak green light flickered on the surface of his body, and traces of faint devouring power were emitted. It swallowed the natural Yuan power, slowly turning it into his own Yuan power to slowly nourish the seriously injured medians and bones within his body. Under this Yuan power nourishment, Lin Dong could sense that there were some traces of brutal yet meek energy surging out from within his body. This was the Heaven Dragon aura that had completely merged into his body. A faint dragon roar resounded within his body while this energy surged, causing the green light flickering within Lin Dong's body to flicker even more intensely, as his weakness also slowly diminished bit by bit. Lin Dong secretly sighed in relief while he felt the changes within his body. He was planning to withdraw from his training state when he suddenly sensed a faint tremble from in between his brows. Soon after, he was stunned to discover wave after wave of pure surging energy gushing out like floodwaters, before spreading to his limbs and bones. This sudden scene caused Lin Dong to be exceptionally astonished. His mind moved and shifted towards the spot between his brows. Soon after, he saw a light symbol lingering under his temple. Majestic energy faintly rippled from it. Spirit emblem? Lin Dong observed the light symbol. Only then did it suddenly hit him, as joy surged from his heart. He had nearly forgotten that he had obtained the spirit emblem in Yuan Kang's body after killing him. Lin Dong was clearly aware of just how powerful a spirit emblem was. The reason that Yuan Kang was able to reach the initial profound life stage at his age was very likely because of this spirit emblem. Currently, this object had landed in Lin Dong's hands, and it would undoubtedly be a great addition to his already formidable arsenal. With the energy supplied by the spirit emblem, Lin Dong would clearly be able to swiftly recover from his injuries. Phew! Lin Dong slowly opened his eyes, as a turbid mouthful of air moved along his throat and was spat out. A bright light flashed across his eyes, before they returned to normal. Creak! Not long after Lin Dong opened his eyes, the door to the carriage was suddenly pushed open. After which, he saw Guya carrying some blankets as she carefully walked in. Big brother Lin Dong, the island is extremely cold at night. Moreover, you are injured. Please don't catch a cold while resting at night. Guya placed the soft blankets beside Lin Dong and smilingly said. Lin Dong was startled as he watched this scene. Soon after, a gentle look appeared within his eyes. This young lady was simply too kind. Big brother Lin Dong, elder sister Guya is actually not a bad person. Everyone else were all in objection when I rescued you back then. However, only after she agreed, did the rest concede. Guya sat beside Lin Dong and said. Lin Dong smiled and nodded. He did not feel any dislike towards Guya. After all, strength was the most important in this world. Everyone assumed that he was a cripple who would not be able to cultivate in future, and hence would naturally not be interested in him. She was already quite magnanimous to allow him to tag along. The two of them sat in the carriage and chatted with each other. Usually, Guya was timid and felt inferior to others, hence, she was not good at interacting with others. Perhaps it was because Lin Dong's current condition was currently even more miserable than her own that she was able to properly converse with Lin Dong. While they were chatting, Lin Dong was also able to obtain various information about the Heaven Wind Sea region from her. The Heaven Wind Sea region was situated in the northwestern region of the Chaotic Demon Sea. This region was quite famous within the Chaotic Demon Sea, and there were also some powerful factions within it. The most well-known amongst them were the so-called Two Great Caves and 5 Big Clans. The so-called Two Great Caves were the Demonic Wind Cave and the Universe Cave. These two large factions were not only the strongest factions within the Heaven Wind Sea region, but they also possessed a certain reputation even in the entire Chaotic Demon Sea. The 5 big clans were 5 clans with extremely long histories. They were the Wei clan, Gu clan, Su clan, Chu clan, Shintu clan. These 5 big clans were rather well-known factions within the Heaven Wind Sea region. Of course, the Chaotic Demon Sea was extremely chaotic, and there were also numerous factions of all sizes in this Heaven Wind Sea region other than the 2 great caves and 5 big clans. Some of them might not be as strong as the 5 big clans, but they should not be underestimated. You are members of the Gu clan, right? Lin Dong looked at Guya and asked after some thought. Even since he had seen those relatively powerful youngsters during the day, he had guessed that the faction that Guya's group belonged to should not be too weak. However, he did not expect that they were actually one of the 5 big clans of the Heaven Wind Sea region. My clan head is an expert who has stepped into the profound death stage. Guya's eyes contained an expression of worship. It was likely that such a level was sufficient for her to look up to. Profound death stage, huh? Lin Dong nodded slightly. Although he was temporarily uncertain of how many top experts from this Gu clan had stepped into the profound death stage, the Gu clan was indeed quite powerful. They were definitely comparable to some of the super sects in the Eastern Xian region. Of course, these super sects did not refer to the super sects at the level of Yuan Gate or Dao sect, but the rest of the super sects. It was likely that only the 2 great caves within this Heaven Wind Sea region were at the level of Yuan Gate or Dao sect. This was already quite frightening. After all, the Heaven Wind Sea region was merely one of the many regions in the Chaotic Demon Sea. Moreover, it was not the strongest sea region. We were originally delivering goods, but we received some news along the way that a mysterious life spirit fruit had been born on this mysterious spirit island. Hence, we made a detour in an attempt to see if we can obtain it. GUYA explained. Mysterious life spirit fruit? Lin Dong was initially startled when he heard this name. Immediately, his face began to change slightly. Is it that strange mysterious life spirit fruit that can help one to break through to the profound life stage? Has Big Brother Lin Dong also heard of it? GUYA nodded continuously as she spoke. The mysterious life spirit fruit is extremely beneficial for a 9-yuan nirvana stage expert. If one is lucky enough, one can even borrow its strength to break into the profound life stage. Gu Yang plans to obtain it during this trip. She is already an expert at the half a foot into the profound life stage. If she can obtain the mysterious life spirit fruit, she will be able to make a complete breakthrough. Lin Dong nodded his head, while an unusual glint flickered in his eyes. He could sense that if his injuries were to fully heal, his strength would definitely advance once again, and directly ascend to the 9-yuan nirvana stage. If he was able to obtain that mysterious life spirit fruit, he might be able to advance once again and reach the profound life stage. During his fight with Yuan Kang, Lin Dong could clearly sense the enormous difference between the profound life stage and the nirvana stage. Even though Lin Dong currently possessed a spirit emblem, he would need at least half a year to advance to the profound life stage if he trained normally. However, the appearance of this mysterious life spirit fruit was able to greatly shorten that time. Such a miraculous fruit was extremely rare in the Eastern Xian region. He never imagined that he would have the luck to find it upon arriving in this Heaven Wind Sea region. This chaotic demon sea was indeed a treasure land. However, news of this mysterious life spirit fruit has already spread, and many experts have arrived on this mysterious spirit island. It is difficult to say whether we will ultimately be able to obtain it. GUYA continued to mutter to herself without noticing Lin Dong's expression. No wonder Gu Yang said that this mysterious spirit island was not peaceful recently. The expression on Lin Dong's face slowly disappeared. The matter of the mysterious life spirit fruit had somewhat exceeded his expectations. It would be a lie if he said that he was uninterested. After having experienced a miserable defeat in the Eastern Xian region, he clearly understood the importance of raising his strength. However, his injuries were currently still quite serious. Moreover, there were definitely many experts after the mysterious life spirit fruit. Hence, he should first recover from his injuries before adopting a wait-and-see approach. If he had the opportunity, he could attempt to make a move. In any case, such a natural treasure was something that those with ability should obtain. Lin Dong did not have much feelings towards Gu Yang's group. However, if he managed to obtain it, he must not ill-treat this kind little lass, GUYA. Lin Dong suppressed the ripples within his heart when he thought of this, and continued to chat with GUYA. It was a long while later before the young lady finally felt like leaving. Lin Dong watched GUYA's leaving figure and smiled slightly. Soon after, he once again shut his eyes. He had to make full use of the time he had to heal the injuries within his body. This video will end here.